Welcome to Networking Unleashed Building Profitable Connections, the podcast where we turn relationships into real results. I'm your host, Michael Forman, and today we're talking about one of the most overlooked aspects of networking: how your relationship with money shapes the relationships you build with people. My guest is an expert in financial planning and the psychology of money. She helps people not only create smart financial strategies, but also rewire the beliefs that hold them back from abundance. Together, we'll explore how mindset impacts the way you show up in your network, why financial confidence makes you a more magnetic connector, and how you invest in your relationships with the same clarity as you invest in your wealth. If you've ever wondered how money and mindset influence your networking success, this conversation is going to open your eyes and maybe your opportunities. I'd like to welcome to the podcast Ramsha. Listen, we've been friends for a while now. We've been going to the same networking events, and I'm so thankful to have you here to give us some of your wisdom. But Ramsha, why don't you give us a little about your background and welcome to the podcast?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me on here, Michael. We have known each other for quite some time, and you've given such a great impression to me and everybody else that we've connected with. So it's an honor to be on here. But a little bit about myself. My name is Ramsha Khan. I stay in Atlanta, Georgia, work as a wealth advisor, run my own practice with a firm called North Star Resource Group. And alongside, I also produce music and DJ as a fun little hobby of mine. So I like to keep myself sane with my music, and I like to keep myself insane with my career.
Absolutely, absolutely. It actually sounds like a good mix. But okay, so let's delve into the questions that
Sure.
I've got prepared for you. The first one: how does financial planning influence the quality and strength of someone's professional network?
That's a great question. Financial planning is a strategy. It's very intentional. And I think that goes into networking as well. When we're networking with people, we have to go in with a goal of being intentional about who we want to meet, why we want to meet them, and what we want to do moving forward with them. And that's the same thing when it comes to financial planning. It's where are we, where do we want to go, and how do we get there? And so I would put those two things together because in order for us to have a good financial planning strategy, we need to be forward thinkers. And I think that goes to networking as well. For example, when we go to any type of networking event, whether that's a local link or the chambers, our goal is to connect with like-minded people that we like, trust, and want to do business with. And in my opinion, that's also what financial planning means.
That's so true. That's so true. You've really come across, you have to be focused on what you want to accomplish. Networking is exactly the same way as the financial planning. You have to have that end goal in sight so you have
Mhm.
something to shoot for, and something when you're aiming for that, you can actually break it apart and
Yep.
work your way to the goal. Okay,
Exactly.
good.
And one more thing I'd like to add on to that is
Sure.
it's a fluid, like financial planning for me is a very fluid document, a fluid item, and a fluid plan, meaning at any point it can change because life changes for us at all times, right? We can have kids one day and all of a sudden now we got to change our plan, or we're moving out of the state, we got to change our plan. We want to buy a house, we have to change our plan. And that goes to networking as well, because sometimes we're not looking to meet the same type of people every time. Or sometimes we're looking for people that we can connect with in one aspect of our business, or maybe we can connect with in a personal aspect, or someone that we can even refer to. It doesn't even have to be somebody for us, it's somebody that we're referring to somebody else. So as much as a financial plan changes, so does our strategy for networking and growing personal relationships.
That's so true. You're actually what I call a professional connector, and you're
Yeah,
putting
I
two
like that.
people together, and they have a need. And listen, if you get something out of it, that's one thing, but that's really not your main goal when you connect two people together. You
Mhm.
put two people together, you say, okay, look, you have a need, you have a want, a desire, you go together, and you walk away, and you wind up
Yeah.
getting more business that way than trying to push what you're selling.
Yeah, I agree
Okay.
100%.
In your experience, do people with a healthy money mindset approach networking differently from those with a scarcity mindset?
That's a great question. I would say yes. And the definition of money rich, or could you repeat what that was? Money.
Money mindset, a healthy
Yeah,
money mindset.
healthy. People with healthy money mindset develop habits from early on. They're very disciplined and focused on achieving a win-win situation because success doesn't come until both parties are happy with where they are. Versus a scarcity mindset, that is the type of people that when we meet, they're just trying to sell you something. You can smell it, you can feel it, you could hear it, and there's no win-win situation at the end. You just see someone pitching their product or services to you rather than someone looking to collaborate and build a relationship or a partnership. So those who have healthy money mindset understand that money is created when two parties agree on it together and both come out with successful outcomes.
Now, you really consider yourself a fiduciary, right?
Yeah, fiduciary.
More so than a financial
I'm
planner.
legally obligated to work in the best interests of my clients. Yes.
And there you go. So you have to, by law, you have to try to get to the best of for your client. So,
Exactly. And again, sorry to interrupt, Michael, but
yep,
it always blows my mind when people say by law, you have to do the best thing for people. Because I feel like that should be a standard that we shouldn't have to have a law to be doing right by others, especially when it comes to their money and taking care of their financial future, essentially. So for me, it's not my fiduciary is an honor title more than it is a job title for myself.
yeah, you know as well as I do, there are plenty of people out there waiting to take somebody's money and
Yeah,
not do anything for it. So there's
that's
more
the
people
scarcity
like
mindset.
that than yourself. So you
Hmm.
have to work twice as hard to have that trust value, that trust factor. So you have this know you, like you, trust you, they'll do business with you. And that trust factor becomes so important, especially somebody in your field.
Yeah.
What is the biggest financial mistake professionals make when investing in their networking efforts?
Ooh, that's a good one. One of the worst financial mistakes that they make when it comes to investing in their network
Sure.
is not taking the opportunity to build a face-to-face connection. For example, some people would rather save $2 than to go out and have coffee for $2. I think the digital world has changed business completely. Now we have the opportunity to sit like this and we don't need to go anywhere. We have the comfort of our room and our water bottle. We don't really need to pay for anything. However, there is a big disconnect, in my own opinion, when we're sitting like this versus when we're meeting face to face. The energy is very different. The relationship that's being built and developed is very different. For example, if we met like this, it would be very different versus when we went to our bagel shop and sat outside in the heat and talked about all of our ventures. That leaves a lasting impression for both parties as well as a great memory to look back on. Versus so many times I've sat on Zoom with people that I can't, if I'm being honest, it doesn't leave a lasting impression on me. It's a scheduled 30-minute call versus an open schedule when you're meeting somebody. And the money investing into a networking really just goes into take that time, drive over to meet somebody. Sure, you're going to pay a little bit of gas money, or sure, you're going to get a little coffee. You don't even need to get coffee, but it's the effort that matters. And if both parties are putting in the effort, it shows the want to grow and develop a relationship. And you get to see who's really worth putting your time into if they're putting their time back into you as well.
Absolutely. And I really found there was like a line in the sand, the
Yeah,
pandemic. Before the pandemic, people were more, they're treating these types of calls as transactional. I have three
yeah,
widgets. You have a $2. Okay, you're going to buy my widgets, and that's going to be it. After the pandemic, it's really become more relationship based.
yeah,
And when you go and meet, so even if you're talking over Zoom, you have to realize that's a person behind the camera and you
yeah,
have to treat them accordingly. So
yep,
you don't feel the vibe of the person, you don't feel the vibe of the room, but you can, as long as you can put yourself with that other person, then I feel that you can create a relationship, not just a customer. Does
yeah,
that
you're
sound
so right
good?
about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
time is money. I know we all hear it, we all see it. Time is money. And if we're going to invest anything to anybody, it should be our time, showing them what's valuable. And yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Okay, okay, sure. How can someone budget their time? Speaking of time, how can someone budget their time and resources for networking the same way that they would for a financial plan?
Ooh, book it on your calendar, schedule it. When you have something in front of you and that they're what you're doing the next day, it's much easier to follow a plan that's already created than it is to create a plan out of thin air the day of. And so that goes to financial planning because so many people are like, oh, I can invest today and I'll invest a little bit tomorrow. And when I have this money, I'll put it away. But that's not a plan put into stone. It's all up in the air. And when things are all up in the air, they just float around. And so when we have a structured plan, it really helps us stay focused and intentional about the activities that we're doing. And that goes to networking. For example, I have all of my networking events scheduled on my calendars and blocked off every single week when I know it's happening. So that way I know where my priority is during that time and that my focus is not going to go to anything else. I'm going to prioritize going to these sessions or meeting these people, not focusing on my own business. And then I block out time for my own business as well.
This is very true. And it's important to do that time blocking. It's actually a thing, time blocking. But I use my phone, my computer calendar, and I have a desktop calendar also, just to make sure that I don't miss anything.
Yeah.
But I block out a time, a set time during the day for my business. I
Yeah.
block out and then networking at night and everything else. But if I don't block it out, then somebody else may get that time and I'll
Mm-hmm.
have to either excuse myself or whatever the case may be. It saves you heartache. So
I
if
agree.
if you can block out the time, just as Ramsha says, that if you can block it out, that will help you tenfold when you're trying to do things down the road.
Can
So
I
you
ask you a
can,
question, Michael?
sure.
Based off that, there's been so many times people struggle finding where their priorities lie. Sometimes their calendar is their their Bible. They live by it, they rule by it. But some people allow others to dictate their calendar. And I think that when we start our business, it's difficult at first prioritizing and do we want to focus on other people? If, for example, you said that there was a time available, somebody will take it, but you have something that you have to do. Where what do you decide? Are you going to go with that person that decided to book it, or are you going to focus on your own priority? So, how did you start making those decisions clearer and more stern for yourself?
What I did was I blocked out the time from now till December. So the set networking opportunities that I have that are every week, I automatically block that out so nobody can touch that time. And I fill in the time when I'm behind my desk when other people are filling in, so to speak, that time. But when you get up, when you get a little bit more when you get a little more opportunity, you can have an assistant, and that assistant will now have control of your calendar. So that's where you're going to say to your assistant, you have to make sure that you don't allow somebody else to occupy this time. So I work very hard at not letting anybody sneak an appointment in while I'm going and I'm planning on doing something else. So I
Mm-hmm.
have plenty of times when off my website or somewhere else, I have my calendar link and people can make an appointment for a consultation, for anything like that. So as long as they use the calendar invite, it's blocked off because
Yeah.
that works directly with my calendar on my computer. So it takes time, it takes your a straight mindset, and if you follow it accordingly, then you'll be successful. If you're
Yeah.
willy-nilly and you're just using a paper calendar and somebody else is going to make an appointment, you're going to get all messed up.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be structured and organized, and that's a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Okay, so have you seen networking play a direct role in helping people achieve major financial goals?
Networking. Yeah, you never know who you're going to meet when you're networking. You never know who needs you and who also you need back. I think that because of the digital world, it's so easy to go out and build lists and go to LinkedIn and connect with 1,000 people, but you never know someone's true needs until you have a conversation with them. And so networking allows that conversation to build. The first 30 seconds or 1 minute of you talking about your services and listen to the other person's services, you get a chance to see, is there something that I can help this person with And is there something that person can help me with? And so when it comes to networking, for example, I've had people where I've shared a presentation and I've talked about, let's just say like a 401k, how to make sure your 401k is invested properly, or what options you have if you're leaving a firm with your 401k. And people don't realize that until they know what they don't know what to act on.
Don't know what you don't know,
You don't know what you
right?
don't know.
I say this to the high school students and college students that I coach because they're not sure about a networking event or where they can help. I said, you're networking every day of your life in
Hmm.
your circle of friends, in a department store, in a grocery store. You're doing everything. When you're online and you hear a conversation behind you, you just don't put your earmuffs on and look forward to the conversation. And if you can add any type of smart or anything else to their conversation, then add it. To turn around and say, "Oh, hi, excuse me, but you were talking about this. I heard you and I do this." And then you turn back around. You don't have to sit there and wait for a conversation. If what you said was interesting enough, tap you on the shoulder and say, "What could you explain that a little bit further?" And then you have.
Exactly. So many times, Michael, tell me if you've seen this too. People wait to be asked, what can you do for me? And thus sitting there waiting for those types of opportunities is, in my opinion, I've never really seen a lot of success come from that.
No, it's true. And I just had a very good friend of mine on the podcast, and he's a realtor down in
Hmm.
Florida. And he always like when he walked into he just told me a story. When he walked into a store, a person thought he worked there and said, "Can you tell me where this is?" He said, "Yeah, come on, I'll show you." And by the way, do you own a house or do you rent? Are you thinking about buying? How about in 6 months? Here, take my card. And that's how it started. But he
Wow.
initiated the conversation, and the guy probably never even thought about it. But yeah, and that's why he does very well with where he
Hmm.
is. But you have to take the bull by the horns. If you wait for everything to come to you, you're going to wait a very long time.
Yeah, I believe in the law of attraction, but you got to put out what you want back. We can't just sit there.
No, it's true. It's true. Okay. How can a person's beliefs about money either help or hinder the relationships they build?
Ooh, wonderful question. I've said this before with other people, and I'm a true believer in this. Like research shows that when we grow up in two different patterns, either we hoard all our money because we don't know when the next dollar is going to come from, or we spend all our money because we don't know when the next dollar is going to come from. And so those two mindsets come from seeing our family situation, nature, nurture, the environment that we're really raised and born in, and how that money mindset was developed there. And it seeps into our subconscious as we grow up. And so when we grow up, that can hinder relationship building because of the same one of the questions you asked earlier about healthy mindsets versus non-healthy mindsets. Now all of a sudden you're thinking one track mind and me rather than we. A little bit of French there for you. but but that
Well,
I'm a big believer in that because if we have that mindset of spending every money, we're going to give out everything and never receive anything back nor expect anything back, which is a positive or a negative thing. But we're not working for charity. We're working, right? We're building a business, not doing charity work. Or the other is we take from everybody and we don't give back. And where is any relationships going to grow from there?
that's true. But also, I factor age into it because
Oh,
the older that people get, the mind changes. And let's say a single person, then all of a sudden they get married. So they don't think about just themselves anymore. They're thinking about their spouse.
yeah.
So now all of a sudden goes from a me to a we, and then all of a sudden they have children. And then
Hmm.
all of a sudden, let's say in my case, I thought solely about my wife and children. I didn't think about myself. So things change 100%
Yeah.
by how old you got and your age. And all of a sudden you realize, you know what, I'm getting older. Do I have my finances in order? And that's where you reach out to a financial planner or somebody else, or if you're friendly with somebody, you talk to them about it. But it changes with age. And that's something you should really think about because it's different if you're talking to a single person in their 20s as opposed to a married person in their 30s.
No, I agree. I completely agree with you. And that's why I'm a big advocate on plan early for your future. If you plan on getting married, if you plan on having kids, at least have some type of draft put together so that you're not thinking fresh then. Sometimes it's a little too late to start planning. Your kids are 15 years old and you want to start for college educations. Okay, maybe we could still do it, but maybe we're not going to get the same results as if we had started when they were 3 or 4 years old. So it's always, I agree, it's always once you get to that point, you have more responsibility and then you start really thinking about financial security much more importantly at that time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. What advice do you have for people who feel it's too early in their financial journey to network with high level professionals?
Oh, I think people get scared with high net worth professionals because of either titles, PhDs, or how much income that they make. But we have to remember everybody's human, right? Outside of our titles and statuses, we are all skin and bones and a soul and a heart that are all trying to make it in this world. And so there should be no reason to be scared because eventually you want to put yourself in an environment and surround yourself with people that you desire to become or build a lifestyle of. And if you want to be a wealthy, successful person, you surround yourself with wealthy, successful people, not be intimidated by them. There's a saying where you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So I make it a habit to put myself in places and rooms that where I'm surrounded with people who are much more successful than me, and doesn't necessarily mean high net worth. Sometimes it's high wisdom too. Some people have a lot of an experience that they can share and we can learn from. So regardless of whether you build a business with them or if there's a relationship that develops through that, at the end, it's a great learning experience, a great lesson, and a great place to be to open your mind and grow your mindset as well.
What do you say to the person that they say it's too early for me to think about my financial future?
If
It's never
it's
too
too,
early.
it's never too early.
It's
And
never too early.
it's a,
That
when did you start thinking about your financial future, Michael? When you were younger, what was your take on, what was your mindset on money?
I didn't start thinking about it until my late 30s.
Mm. Which is good,
And
some better than never, right?
absolutely. And then you had to figure out, because I was married with children, I had to figure out, okay, do I have that extra couple of dollars that I can invest and things like
Hmm.
that? And I made it a habit that regardless of, I made it like a bill, right? I have to pay all these bills at the end of the month. That was part of it. So
Hmm.
that money had to go away, and then whatever I was left was the expense that I can throw around and worry about. But I learned that, I'd say late 30s, that I had to really figure it out. And I'm glad I did today.
Good.
Um,
And you're doing super
okay.
successful, so I'm happy to hear that too.
Are there parallels between diversifying investments and diversifying a professional network?
100%. If you see, some people are structured and have a niche, and I think having a niche for your business is important. But at the same time, you don't want to limit yourself to your opportunities. When business comes knocking at your door, you don't say bye and slam it in its face. You take what you get. And also, if somebody's coming to you, especially in my industry, if someone's coming to me asking for financial help, it is a lack of my fiduciary responsibility for me to turn them away. In my heart, I'm not going to say, you know what, you're not making X amount of money, or you're not a high net worth client. I don't really want to work with you. And so I keep my doors open to anybody and everybody. However, I also want to focus on mastering the insights of a specific industry so that way I can be more knowledgeable in that field. For example, with business owner solutions, or for example, practice owners, right? How do dentists pay off, or dentists, doctors, they have high student loans. How do we plan a structure for that? So becoming an expert in whatever field you want to work with, but not limiting yourself, is a great way to grow. That's the parallels for diversifying your investments as well as your network.
A little advice from my end, from the networking end of things: focus on what you want to do. So if you want to focus in on not only business owners, because that's too broad. If you want to focus in on business owner medical practice, that's okay. But are you going to focus in on business owner medical practice dentists? Okay, now you're laser focusing, and you have to go, or physical therapists, and you have
Mhm.
to go in and really see what's going on in their world, because there's a lot of costs in with being a doctor, but one of the biggest costs is malpractice insurance.
Yeah.
So you have to figure all this stuff out and say, okay, you know what? And then you have the person going to the health insurance and people like that. And I've worked with people, I've had clients that are in those fields. That's why I know what it is, what it takes.
Mhm.
So you have to be very careful. And another thing I want to add is you never know where your next opportunity is going to lie. So it's you have to change your mindset to be aware of other opportunities, right? Because if your mind is closed off to that, then you won't see it.
Yeah.
If you and I walk into a room and I can come up with whatever I want to say, but you say, "Oh, this is great. I walked out with 3 clients." And I say, "I didn't walk out with any because your mind was open to opportunities and my mind was closed." So that's okay. Okay. So what role does trust, both financial and personal, play in creating long-term profitable connections?
Oh man, there's no relationship without trust. If we think to personal
We talked about
relationships,
this in the beginning.
yeah, and also I'm a big believer once trust is broken, it's very hard to rebuild that relationship too. So when you have a foundation that you're building with somebody and that trust is that structure that you're building that foundation on, you want to be very careful with it. You want to be very diligent about it. You got to take care of that person in front of you. If you say you're going to do something, you got to do it, that kind of stuff. If you can't, you got to communicate. Trust and communication are big when it comes to building lasting relationships with people. Without trust, nope, no one likes you, nobody wants to do business with you, right? You build business with people you like. What was it? Like, trust?
Know and
No can
trust.
trust, exactly. No can trust. Right. And I really believe without trust, there's nothing that can be, there's no relationship that can be developed, especially in a world where today trust is so scarce. Fine, scarce may not be the right word, but it's very hard to be trust. It's very hard to trust people easily today. Everybody, it's just a crazy world today, Michael.
Well,
So trust is hard
it
to earn as well as give.
it is. And when you go to a networking event, you have if you go in with what's called a servant's heart, you want to give and not receive. And if you go in with that philosophy, then it takes all the pressure off your shoulders. You're not there to try to sell them anything or do anything for them. You're there for the other person. So one line that I've always used and was very accepted was at, let's say, a networking table or something else, and let's say I'm with you and you tell me everything that you do and everything else. I say, you know something, Ramsha, I like you. I like what you do for a living. And I like how you do it. How can I make you more successful? How can I be a good referral source for you? And if I've done
Oh,
my
yeah.
job correctly, you sort of say, I don't even know what you do yet. And that's perfect. So if you go in there with that thought, with that feeling, then you never can go wrong. And you
Yeah.
released all that pressure.
And for people who are building referral based businesses, trust is their highest priority because no one's going to refer anybody to somebody that they don't trust, right? Because that's their line, their credibility, and their name and friend that they're putting in front of this person that's looking for business. And trust goes beyond just building a relationship, it goes to many aspects of networking, growth overall.
Trust build what I call social capital, right? It's your social capital. So when people have that much trust in you, then you
Mhm.
have a great amount of social capital. If you do something wrong or bad or something to make them not trust you, you really go into that social capital. So unless you have an abundance of
Yep.
the social capital, if you're just starting out and you do something where they're not going to trust you, then what you're below the line, then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're out and you owe them. And and as you said, it's much more difficult to get them back after they lost your trust or you lost
Yeah.
their trust or something else.
It's like going
um
back to finance, just one last thing to add on is it's like the concept of deposits and withdrawal. Each person is a bank account. If we just deposit money, we're building up that cash balance and cash value. However, if we keep taking from them, if we keep withdrawing, eventually at some point we're going to overdraw ourselves.
That's
and
it.
that we owe them something. And that's where now we're lacking we're not building anything because we've taken so much out from them. They're overdrawn. We're going to get overdraft fees. They don't want a relationship with us. The bank's going to say bye bye, you know?
That's the social capital.
Yep.
That is exactly it. The deposits and withdrawals, it's all built around trust, that trust
Hmm.
factor, but you're building your social capital.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's bring this podcast full circle.
Sure.
If you could give one money mindset networking tip that would pay the biggest dividends, what would it be?
To start, just to review and have a plan. That's really it. Most people just don't have a plan. They go in and ask questions about investing, or what's this stock doing, or what's this Bitcoin doing. And I think that it really depends on your overall picture. Write down where you want to go and then consult with a financial professional on how you want to get there. And that way, regardless of whether you're going to follow that path, if you want to, you have that right in front of you. You have the steps that it takes to move forward to that path.
Okay, Ramsha, that was fantastic. You were a great guest, and you must be a great financial planner because you gave me all the answers that I asked questions. So I'm thinking that you are very good at what you do. But if somebody wanted to get hold of you just to ask you a question or bounce something off of you or have a consult with you, what's the best way for them to get hold of you?
So they can reach me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is Ramsha Khan dash. If they can reach me on my email, ramsha.khan@northstarfinancial.com, or they can shoot me a text message. Now everybody's texting these days, 470-870-1941. So if anybody wants to talk, I am happy to just have a conversation. I think that even conversations just give people mental peace and peace of mind. So, I'm always happy to be that financial therapist as well.
That's great. That's great. Ramsha, I look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure.
Well, hold on, folks. Don't go anywhere. Let's hear from our sponsors. David Neal, co founder, Revved Up Kids. Revved Up Kids is on a mission to protect children and teens from sexual abuse, exploitation, and trafficking. They provide prevention training programs for children, teens, and adults. To learn more, go to revvedupkids.org. Henry Kaplan, Century 21. When it comes to making the biggest financial decision of your life, leave it in the hands of a proven professional, Henry Kaplan. Henry is a global real estate agent with Century 21, celebrating his 41st year in business. No matter where you're moving, Henry has the right connections for you. You can contact Henry at 561 427 4888. A huge thank you to our guest for sharing such incredible insights today. And of course, a big shout out to you, our amazing listeners, for tuning in and spending your time with us. If you're interested in my digital courses, being coached, or having me come and talk to your company, just go to Michael and fill out the request form. Remember, networking isn't about being perfect, it's about being present. So take what you've learned today, get out there, and make some meaningful connections. If you've enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who could use a little networking inspiration. Let's keep the conversation going. You can find me on Apple, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, or my website, forman.com/podcasts.